Welcome to another deep dive. This is where we love to grab a whole stack of sources and really pull out those fascinating bits of knowledge.
Yeah, get right into the details.
Exactly. And today, we're cracking open something you might not, well, immediately picture as a massive multi-billion-dollar industry,
What's that?
the global eggs market.
Ah, eggs. Okay, I
Yeah.
see where you're going. Seems simple, but
Oh, right. And our mission for you today is really to give you that shortcut, to understand the surprising scale, the growth of this really essential market.
it's fundamental.
Totally. We've got this really comprehensive market analysis projections too. It covers revenues from 2021, looks ahead to 2025,
And even further out.
all the way to 2033, and it's got growth rates for, well, pretty much everywhere across the globe.
It's actually a fantastic example, isn't it? How these, seemingly everyday things,
Like eggs?
like eggs, yeah, they have these incredibly dynamic, huge global markets behind them. So we're going to break down those numbers.
Connect the dots for you.
Exactly. Help you see that bigger picture, where the growth's really happening and maybe why it actually matters.
Okay, let's unpack it then. When we say eggs market globally, what are we talking numbers-wise? Give us that big picture first. I think people will be surprised.
Yeah, I think so too. What's really striking here is just the sheer size and how consistent the growth is.
Okay.
Globally, the market, it brought in revenues of over $265 billion in 2021,
Billion with a B.
with a B, $265.23 billion to be precise.
Mhm.
I mean, think about that. It's not just a snack, right? It's a huge economic engine.
Wow, that is massive. Okay, and it's growing, you said. That's the other key part.
Oh, absolutely. The projections show this steady climb. It's heading towards 328 billion, roughly, by 2025.
Okay, so that's soon.
Yeah. And then a really significant jump after that to over half a trillion dollars.
Half a trillion.
Over $502 billion by 2033. Yeah.
That's incredible.
What that translates to is a steady compound annual growth rate, the CAGR.
Right, the CAGR.
It's about 5.5% globally. Almost 5.47%, actually.
And just to clarify KGR for everyone listening.
Right. Good point. It basically means the market's growing by that percentage on average year after year. So the growth kind of builds on itself.
Compounding.
Exactly. It really shows a robust and expanding market all around the world.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means something as basic, as fundamental as an egg
Yeah.
is going to be part of a $500 billion global economy in, what, just over a decade?
Mm-hmm.
That scale is just, it's mind-boggling for one single commodity. It really shows its importance.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so that's the global view. Now, here's where it gets, I think, really interesting. When we drill down into the regions,
Yeah, the regional differences are key.
are some areas growing way faster? Where's the biggest action happening?
Well, if we connect this back to that big picture,
Yeah.
the Asia-Pacific region, it's really leading the charge here.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Leading how?
So this region, it went from about $112 billion in 2021,
Okay, a big chunk already.
a very big chunk, and it's projected to grow to over $226 billion by 2033,
Wow, that's basically doubling.
pretty much doubling its 2021 value. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cruising along with the highest regional KGR, over 6%, 6.025% to be exact.
Doubling in just over 10 years. That's incredible growth. Are there specific countries within Asia Pacific that are really pushing that number up?
Oh, definitely. I mean, within Asia-Pacific, India shows really robust growth. It's projected to go from about $15 billion in 2021
Okay.
to almost $34 billion by 2033. That's a TGR of nearly 7%, 6.9%.
That's huge.
It is. And China, of course, is another major player, moving from around $35 billion up to over $71 billion.
Also very high growth.
Yeah, and KGR over 6.2%.
Yeah.
And you also see Singapore standing out with a high rate, over 6.3%. And Southeast Asia as a whole sub-region is really strong too, over 6.5% CGR.
Fascinating. So Asia Pacific is clearly like the hotbed for growth in this market.
It really is, yeah.
What about other major regions then? Let's talk North America, still a huge economy.
Right, North America is also a very substantial market. Revenues there are climbing from nearly $70 billion in 2021
Okay.
up to over $122 billion projected by 2033. So significant growth, but the rate is a bit more moderate.
What kind of rate?
The CAGR there is around 4.8%.
Mm-hmm.
Solid, but not quite the Asia-Pacific level.
And within North America, U.S. versus Canada.
The U.S. obviously makes up the bulk of that, going from about $56 billion to nearly $98 billion. Its KGR is slightly lower, around 4.7%.
Okay.
Canada actually shows a slightly higher growth rate, interestingly, over 5.5% CAGR.
Interesting difference there. And Europe, another massive economic bloc, how does it compare?
Europe is projected to reach almost $95 billion by 2033. That's up from around $53 billion in 2021.
Okay.
So each year is hovering right around 5%, 4.992%, basically 5%.
And within Europe, any standouts or laggards?
Yeah, Germany shows pretty strong growth within the European context, close to 5.7% CAGR.
Stronger than the regional average.
Definitely. But then you contrast that with, say, Russia. The data suggests Russia has the lowest regional growth rate mentioned in this report, around 3.7, 3.8%.
Right. It's really interesting how even within these big continents, you see such variation.
Absolutely. Different economic conditions, maybe different consumer trends, policy, lots of factors.
So what about South America, the Middle East, and Africa? Are they seeing similar growth?
They are definitely part of the story, too, yes. South America is projected around $29 billion by 2033.
Okay.
And its growth rate is actually quite strong, almost 5.8% CAGR.
So faster than North America or Europe on average.
On average, yeah. And within South America, you see countries like Argentina, almost 6.4% CAGR, and Chile, just over 6% CAGR, showing really strong growth.
Wow. Okay, and the Middle East?
The Middle East is heading towards just over $16 billion. Growth rate is also pretty solid, around 5.8% CAGR again.
Any leaders there?
Yeah, the UAE leads its subregion with a rate over 6.4%, and Turkey also shows strong growth, over 6.1%.
Okay, and Africa?
Africa, while maybe smaller in absolute dollar terms currently,
Right.
is still growing steadily. It's projected to reach nearly $14 billion by 2033.
And the growth rate?
Just under 5% CAGR, around 4.9%. And within Africa, places like South Africa, nearly 5.5% CAGR, and Nigeria, over 5.1% CAGR, are showing notable expansion.
So when you look at all this detailed data, this whole map, what does it tell you? What's the takeaway?
Well, it really shows that the growth isn't just, concentrated in one or two hotspots.
Right. It's not just Asia.
No. Even though the pace varies quite a bit, it really is a truly global phenomenon, growth across the board.
Okay, so that brings up a really important point, I think.
What's that?
What's the core insight here for you listening? You've heard all these numbers.
Yeah, lots of numbers.
Lots of numbers. What's the main message?
I think the overall message is really clear. The global eggs market is, well, it's on a definite, consistent growth path, pretty much everywhere.
Right. We've seen these incredible figures, hundreds of billions now, heading towards $500 billion globally.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen its widespread growth, but definitely some areas like Asia Pacific are really, really outpacing the others.
Exactly. And that particularly strong momentum you see in Asia Pacific and also in some of these emerging regions, parts of South America, the Middle East.
Yeah.
It really highlights those shifting economic landscapes we talked about and just, increasing demand.
What's driving that demand, though? Is it just population?
Population growth is definitely part of it, sure. But it's more complex. It's also rising disposable incomes, especially in developing economies.
So people can afford more protein.
Precisely. That leads to increased protein consumption, and eggs are, affordable and accessible. Urbanization's another huge factor.
How so?
Well, city life often drives demand for convenient food sources, quick, easy, nutritious meals. Eggs fit that bill perfectly.
Makes sense.
And then there are just changing dietary patterns. There's growing awareness globally of eggs as a really versatile, healthy protein source. That's fueling demand, too.
So for you listening, this deep dive really shows that understanding the world, it's not always about, big tech companies or complex geopolitics.
Sometimes it's the fundamentals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also about these fundamental things like eggs that really underpin global commerce, global food systems, human consumption itself.
Yeah.
It gives you that shortcut, we hope, to being well-informed on a market that's actually way more dynamic, way more complex than you might have first thought.
Driven by these really big foundational global trends.
Right. Okay. Well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the global eggs market. We've really peeled back the layers here, haven't we?
We have.
Seen those incredible growth figures. What was it? $265 billion in 2021, heading towards over $500 billion by 2033.
That's right. $500 billion. It's quite something.
With those key regional drivers like Asia Pacific really leading the charge.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how these statistics, they aren't just, dry numbers on a page.
No, they tell us so.
They really reflect these broader, really impactful trends. Population growth, yeah, but also economic development, how diets are changing across the globe. It's all interconnected.
Shaping food systems, shaping economies.
Absolutely.
So here's something for you to think about as you go about your day. Consider this.
Mm.
If something as common, as seemingly simple as an egg, is part of this $500 billion global market,
Yeah.
and it's fueled by these really complex demographic shifts, economic changes, what other everyday items, what other commodities might be hiding equally massive, equally dynamic economic stories right there, just beneath the surface?
That's a great question to ponder. What else is out there?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a staple. I mean, something so fundamental it crosses basically every culture, every cuisine, yet it's undergoing this quiet revolution right now. And it's way more intricate than you might think at first glance. We're talking about eggs. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the dynamic and ever-evolving global egg market. Our mission: to give you a shortcut, basically, to understanding the powerful forces driving its huge growth, the significant hurdles it faces, and the really exciting innovations shaping its future, right down to your breakfast plate.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this product, it seems so simple, right?
Mm.
But it's undergoing this profound transformation. It's driven by a whole mix of things, shifting awareness about nutrition, really rapid tech advancements on the farm,
Mhm.
evolving consumer values, sustainability and how things are produced,
Mm.
and even strategic government support. It's much more complex than just a commodity. It's kind of like a bellwether for these bigger shifts in our global food system.
That's a powerful way to put it. So, okay, what's really igniting this market's expansion then? What are the core forces pushing the global egg market forward?
Well, first and foremost, you've got the high nutritional value. That, coupled with rising global health consciousness. I mean, everyone knows eggs are great for protein, but did you know there are new studies highlighting choline? It's found in the yolks. Apparently, it's crucial for brain development in infants and cognitive function in adults, too. It's not talked about as much. And this has actually pushed public health bodies to kind of reconsider their dietary advice. So as people globally get more aware of affordable, high-impact nutrition sources like eggs, especially, say, in developing economies in Southeast Asia or Africa, well, eggs have become this go-to protein, and that's significantly pushing up per capita consumption worldwide.
That's fascinating, that detail about choline. Huh. So beyond what ends up on our, personal plates, where else are eggs becoming more crucial for the industry side of things?
Right. Well, another huge contributor is the increasing demand. It's almost indispensable, really, from the processed food and bakery sectors. Eggs are vital, like binding agents, emulsifiers, leavening agents. Think baked goods, confectionery, sauces, dressings, even ready-to-eat meals, a huge range. And as the global food processing industry keeps expanding, especially in cities where people are busier, the demand for versatile egg forms like liquid, frozen, powdered eggs, it's climbing steadily. These aren't just niche things anymore. Commercial kitchens, big food service providers, they rely heavily on these egg products now for consistency, safety, efficiency. I mean, some estimates suggest the liquid egg market alone is growing at, over 5% a year. That shows how critical it is for mass food production.
Wow, okay, so it's not just us choosing eggs at the supermarket or industry needing them for ingredients, right? Are there bigger players involved, like more systemic forces promoting egg consumption?
Absolutely. Yeah, the third big driver is targeted government and industry-led promotional efforts. In many countries, you've got national egg boards, agricultural ministries. They're actively working to encourage people to eat more eggs. And these efforts aren't just like generic ads. They include specific subsidies for egg producers to help stabilize prices, for instance. They're integrating eggs into national school meal programs that tackles childhood nutrition. And they're updating dietary guidelines to officially say, hey, eggs are essential nutrition. In Japan, for example, they had these coordinated campaigns that successfully boosted per capita egg consumption by, I think, 15% over 5 years. So it really shows the measurable impact these strategic efforts can have, boosting both domestic supply and demand.
That's interesting about the government side, but I wonder, are these efforts always, perfectly effective, or do they sometimes create unintended issues, maybe favoring huge producers over the little guys, or even creating, oversupply problems?
That's a totally valid point. And yeah, while they're generally positive for overall consumption, these policies definitely need careful balancing to avoid messing up the market.
Yeah.
But the primary challenge, the really big one for the whole sector, despite all those growth drivers, well, it actually lies elsewhere.
Okay, so what are the main headwinds then? Because, yeah, despite all that momentum, the market does face some serious restraints.
Right. A primary concern And one that consistently sends, like, shockwaves to the industry is the recurrence of avian influenza outbreaks, bird flu. It's not just the immediate mass culling of birds, which can just wipe out entire flocks, obviously cutting supply. These episodes trigger a whole domino effect. You get severe trade restrictions, consumers get nervous. Although, interestingly, sometimes you see this unexpected resilience. Like after a major outbreak, we've sometimes seen a surge in demand for processed egg products because companies pivot from fresh eggs to, ensure they can keep making stuff. So that reveals this less obvious but crucial secondary market. Still, these outbreaks can severely disrupt supply chains and really shake investor and consumer trust for a long time in the affected areas.
Yeah, devastating. And beyond those diseases, what about just the basic economics of producing eggs? How vulnerable is the industry to like external financial stuff?
That's a huge factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, another significant restraint is just the inherent price volatility in feed and raw materials.
Yeah.
Poultry feed ingredients, we're talking corn, soybeans, wheat, mainly they're subject to global supply chain issues, crazy weather events, geopolitical stuff. Even slight disruptions in feed supply can cause pretty notable and rapid changes in egg production costs.
Hmm.
And that flows through to profitability. This is particularly tough for the smaller scale egg producers. They often have limited financial cushion to absorb these sudden cost shocks. It can even lead to consolidation in the industry sometimes.
Right. And we've also seen so much more discussion lately, especially in developed markets, around how our food is produced, the ethics of it all. How does that broader conversation impact the egg industry? And, it's bottom line.
Yeah, this really brings up a major market force, shifting consumer values. There's definitely rising concern around animal welfare and ethical sourcing. Consumers, particularly in Western markets, are increasingly saying no to conventional caged egg production. You see it in social media movements, regulatory changes like California's Prop 12 and general awareness campaigns. They're all pushing producers to shift towards cage-free organic practices. Now, while this transition is driven by consumers and it does improve animal welfare standards, it often means substantially higher costs for infrastructure, logistics. It's complex for producers. That can temporarily impact market stability and profitability, although often down the line, it leads to higher prices for those premium eggs.
Okay, so the shift to cage-free is clearly huge. But is there a point where these ethical demands become maybe economically unsustainable for the industry as a whole, especially for producers in, say, less affluent markets who might not have the capital for those big transitions?
It's a critical balancing act, absolutely. And it definitely creates a kind of segmentation in the global market. But, it's not all challenges. The industry is also incredibly agile. It's adapting, it's evolving, and some fascinating new trends are emerging out of all this.
So what are we seeing then? How is the industry redefining itself in response to these pressures and consumer shifts?
Well, one significant development is the accelerated growth of what you might call premium egg segments. Consumers today seem more inclined to buy eggs that reflect both perceived health benefits and ethical production standards. So this includes organic, cage-free, pasture-raised, omega-3 enriched eggs. You see them all now. For instance, those omega-3 eggs. They often produce them by changing the hen feed, adding flaxseed, which directly alters the egg's nutritional profile.
Hmm.
Pretty neat. These categories are really gaining traction, especially in Western markets where health and sustainability are like top priorities for many shoppers. And these premium products allow brands to stand out, differentiate themselves, and frankly, command significantly higher profit margins. It creates this sort of two-tiered market.
Interesting. And finally, what about on the farm itself, the technology side? Are we actually heading towards like entirely robotic chicken farms? I'm picturing chickens in VR headsets, robots serving them tiny lattes. But seriously, how does this tech really change the day-to-day for a farmer and the efficiency of the whole operation?
You might be surprised how close some of that tech is getting, though maybe not the lattes. Yeah. The final really transformative trend we have to talk about is the rapid integration of automation and smart technology in poultry farming. And when we say robotics, it's not just simple conveyor belts for eggs anymore. Imagine AI-powered vision systems that can spot microcracks invisible to us, sorting and grading eggs with amazing precision. That dramatically cuts waste and makes sure only the best product gets to market. You have climate-controlled barns, managed by sophisticated sensors, keeping conditions perfect for hen health and productivity. Other sensors monitor animal health constantly, catching issues early. I remember visiting a small family farm years back. Egg collection was an all-day, back-breaking job. Now, in some modern setups, one person can monitor thousands of birds from a tablet, with a lot of physical labor automated. So these innovations, they don't just improve hen welfare, they also boost production efficiency, enhance food safety through better tracking, give us incredible traceability. It's ultimately setting totally new standards in modern agriculture, really, across the globe.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it's clear this isn't just about breakfast anymore, is it? So, what we've really unpacked today is this truly significant, pretty nuanced transformation happening in the global egg market. It's driven by our growing awareness of advanced nutritional benefits, these incredible tech advances, redefining farming, shifting consumer values around ethics, and yeah, that's strategic government support too. But at the same time, it faces these real impactful challenges, devastating disease outbreaks, the economic side of ethical scrutiny, and that volatile pricing pressure.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really becomes clear that how companies adapt to all these shifting dynamics, balancing innovation with being resilient, meeting consumer demands while dealing with economic realities, that's what will fundamentally shape the future of this essential global food sector. And this impacts everything, really, from the choices you see on a grocery shelf to global trade policies, even the very nature of farm labor.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much our everyday grocery list, even something as seemingly simple as an egg, reflects and influences these huge global shifts in health, ethics, technology. Makes you wonder, what other staples products do you think are undergoing similar quiet transformations right now, driven by forces we might not even be aware of?